Hey, what's up, guys? This story's about a week old, but I still wanted to give my quick thoughts on it. Push Square cited a report from Bloomberg where their sources confirm that all roads are leading to Sony's 10th generation console not meeting the standard turnaround time for new hardware. The report further confirms the reasoning behind the potential delay is the increase in RAM prices that is ultimately affecting Nintendo as well, as they ponder a possible increase for the Switch 2 sometime in 2026. Looking at previous launches, the gap between consoles range between 5 to 7 years. If the speculation of the delay is true, it will be the first time in Sony's history where they exceed the 7-year mark, a moment I think might set a new standard moving forward, and to be honest, I'm not too upset about it. Browsing online, it's safe to say it's fairly even on folks who share my sentiment and those against it. The main argument I've seen online in favor of a delay is that there are barely any true PS5 exclusives up until this point, that there's no point to graduate to the next generation console because we've yet to see the PS5 test its limits and build a great catalog. I can honestly tell you though, that this isn't necessarily my reasoning in favor of waiting a few more years. I genuinely feel the opposite. For me, I feel like there's too many games to play, and my backlog keeps growing each month that passes by. I do feel though like I need to add some context to this statement. I, by no means, would consider myself a hardcore gamer, but I definitely wouldn't call myself a casual either by any means. I'm also not necessarily very good at them either. It takes me more time than the average person to beat a game. So I'd take that into consideration if you're listening to me ramp at the moment. Another thing to take note of is that I spent the majority of my childhood mainly playing sports games like NBA Live or 2K, Madden, and FIFA, with some single player games sprinkled in. Up until recently, I favored the single player experience a lot more. When you guys are discussing how great Half-Life 2 or Bioshock was, I'm sitting on the outside of the conversation because I haven't had a chance to play those games. So when people are complaining about the lack of games, I'm sitting here happily beating Uncharted for the first time. In between those major PS5 exclusives, I have things to play and booting up my PS5 almost daily. Regardless of me having things to play and getting the most out of my PS5, I'm okay with the delay because it just feels right. It feels right because graphically and performance-wise, the jump from the PS4 to the PS5 was noticeable, but not as amazing as it was from when we jumped from the PS3 to the PS4. I'm not saying there won't be any visual improvements in the future, because there will be, but I believe from this generation and on, we'll mostly see improvements on the performance side. And to be honest, I wouldn't consider myself much of a frame rate snob. Don't get me wrong, when I boot up a game at 30 FPS, I definitely feel it, and I definitely prefer higher frame rates. But when we start talking about 60 to 120, it's just not that much of a deal breaker for me, but I do understand that this is 100% subjective. So if the big selling points for the next generation consoles is going to be higher performance, I'm okay if we put it off for a few more years. Growing up, whenever I see commercials online for the PS3 or Xbox 360 and viewed marketing materials online for the PS4, what got me super excited was the jump in visuals. As a young kid, I would dream about the day we would get hyper-realistic graphics. My time growing up being a big sports games fan is worth mentioning at this point again, because that was a big thing for us, just as much as the gameplay. Another reason for me is price, maybe more so money. With the increase in RAM prices and tariffs that's going on nowadays, we'd all be fools not to anticipate the PS6 being Sony's highest priced console. My best guess would be that the base model would be priced at $650 and a bundle of some sorts being priced at $700 or slightly above that. Now, I'm at a point where I'm more financially stable than I've ever been in my life, but spending $700 plus on a console where there's only a modest graphical performance jump seems crazy to me. However, whenever I do jump on this train of thought, I reel myself back in by realizing maybe it seems crazy because of time. Long are the days when we were kids, and a whole school year seemed like 2, because our perception of time was different than what it is now as adults. Those years in between console generations felt like decades, but when in reality, they've been pretty consistent within the 5 to 7 year mark. My life feels like it's going by super fast, and you can't help but realize that this factor is something that's really contributing to my opinion on this. It honestly feels like the PS5 has only been out a few years, but it hasn't. It's truly nearing the end of its life cycle. Maybe in time, my opinion on this will change. Maybe once we get to the fall of 2027, if there's no PS6 in sight, I realize I was wrong for being in favor of this reality. Maybe once I've grown my catalog of single player games I've beaten and experienced, my preference for games has changed, and I really don't have anything to play. And I'd be sitting there realizing I was on the wrong side of the fence.